Here we are. Still always gotta have some scuff. So, of course. Just how things tend to be, I guess. So, yeah. For some reason, there's issues with sound problems today. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get that solved. But still, at least I have my mod to be able to clue me in on maybe some issue. So we'll definitely get things rolling here. And thanks for the sound check. Because, always helps to have somebody in your corner. But we'll definitely see how things are going. Of course, the last week has been kind of its own crazy. Did take a moment to actually play some Marvel Rivals. That definitely was an interesting time. I will admit that. Maybe a little bit later I'll actually kick into some Clair Obscur, even today. Just kind of feeling a little bit of the nip, but we'll see how things go. Wanted to kind of dive in a little bit into reviews of different things that have been going on in of course, in the internet space. I try not to be terminally online. I really try. But of course, it kind of pulls me in sometimes. So, just kind of how some things go. But we'll definitely see how things roll with some of this and see what we can discuss and maybe run into a few things. So, well, let's see about kicking this off, because I haven't checked in with some of these creators that are out there, and, occasionally like to follow what they're keeping track of, because, well, it's entertaining, for one. For two, it's also nice to be able to actually spout an opinion, because, of course, opinions are what actually gets us all in trouble these days. Nobody likes to actually, get nailed over their opinions, but it happens, because there's always people that are going to be out there that you're going to make mad. You're going to have a difference of opinion, but the one thing that we always have to admit is everyone has a right to have an opinion, at least in the United States. And the real problem is when there are others that are out there in the world who decide to take a difference of opinion and deem that your opinion is so wrong compared to their beliefs, motives, and motivations that you don't deserve to live your life in peace. And that is where all of a sudden I tend to call out that as a very bad thing. Like, that's up there with, trying to strike out at people and, deem to do violent acts or anything like that. And it's wrong. I mean, that's where you go into the speech that is not supposed to be allowed, because there's a difference of having your opinion and going forward with it, and you can debate with everybody else on the merits of your opinion, but if you're not challenged in your opinion, then you're never going to grow. And sometimes there are people that, when they are faced with that challenge, they stick their fingers in their ears, and then they try everything they can not to actually listen to the merits of your opinion, because they are so set in their ways that they won't critically think about it. And they lean more forward into their emotions. Trust me, I was that way myself for a long time. It's where I'm a very emotional person. I mean, that's why I actually have the tags I do on my stuff. I'm ADHD. I play things with my heart on my sleeve. I mean, there's a lot of things. And I'm just a regular old VTuber dad here. There are times where, even in the moments of when I first started, I originally saw the different things that were going on out there. And granted, I'm a dad in an entire section that is dominated by women, and most notably women that are young enough to be a daughter to me. So, I mean, and that's just to be honest. So, when I actually see things that cause all the problems, I mean, it's not that hard for me to actually look out into the rest of the area and just recognize the fact that they could, you know, fit into the shoes of one of my children. And, you know, there are events that have happened. I mean, even going back to my first ever launch, which was the saddest day of all, was the day the duckies hit the towers, you know? So it always grips at a dad's heart when he actually has to hear women that are young enough to be his daughter crying out in pain. And it sucks. And I can't do anything but just offer condolences and be there if they were to reach out. Because a lot of pain and a lot of hurt keeps going on these days. But I definitely have to admit, there are some people who actually do what they do, and they deserve their comeuppance. And that's, of course, something I wanted to look over today. So, how about we dive into it, shall we? So, of course, let me just give a second here. Get myself nice and moved. That way it's good to see. So, here we go.
Hope you guys have been having a great weekend. Welcome back. We've got a very odd situation going on here regarding the Genshin Impact VA, ex-Genshin Impact VA, Kaylee Mills, who's still working as Rappy in Nikkei, last I checked, and her Wikipedia article with one account named Sean Laraway. Obviously, that's also the name of a VA who's become a bit notorious throughout the entire Genshin situation for his constant defending of the Union and that sort of thing. So there's a person going by his name.
So who are we talking about today, Hero?
Presumably, it's actually Sean Laraway himself, but I don't know for sure if it is. But on Wikipedia, there's like a Sean Laraway trying to make edits that seem to favor Kaylee Mills on Wikipedia, and there's been like this whole edit war going back and forth. So that's going to be like what we're taking a look at in this video. That's an overview of this very bizarre situation. Now, let's get into the actual details. As I got this tag from Fire Sparkle, thank you for the tag, says @HeroHead and Paperbag Boy. Shouts out to Paperbag Boy. The tweet reading.
Yeah, I haven't really run into Paperbag Boy stuff, but I have seen like one or two, and he's kind of interesting. He did do his own little sting operation that it was Karina Bodker fell into the trap, which was definitely a bit strange.
Look at this. This SAG just the SAG just doesn't give up now, do they? But on the bright side, Wikipedia's editors told him to screw off due to conflict of interest. You can't edit articles if you are involved with the entities you do edits on. What you do? Then saying it gets even better and even more. Paperbag Boy saying, does that mean Sean Laraway tried to make the edit? Let's see what the response is here.
Oh, he might have.
Their trusted source is Vice. If Vice
oh God,
it's true. We'll get to that. But like for Paperbag Boy's question here. Oh my gosh, why am I all zoomed up on my screen? What the frick? For Paperbag Boy's question, I'm just gonna say as a disclaimer here as well. I'm not definitively saying that the Sean Laraway on Wikipedia is the Sean Laraway who's a VA. This seems like something that VA would do, but of course I don't know for sure that's who's running the account on Wikipedia. That's going by the same name. So, as a disclaimer, don't know for sure. Seems likely, but I don't know for sure. May give it what you will. Then I also got this tweet from Pedro. Thank you for the tag.
Okay.
Have you noticed that Kaylee Mills Wikipedia no longer mentions the strike controversy, and the one who started the movement to delete it was Sean Laraway? There was discussion about removing it. That takes us to the Wikipedia entry for Kaylee
here we go.
Mills. This is
receipts
specifically for, as you can see at the very top here, revision history. And don't worry, we're not going to read all this stuff. Text everywhere here.
Just give me the highlights, bro.
Is simply that you can see there's been this recurring, as mentioned, Wikipedia war going on here on Kaylee Mills' page.
Oh God!
And you can see this stuff's been going on from like June 25th
reverted
up until today, with the entry getting stuff added and then
jeez.
removed, and added
Oh
and
God.
removed.
Possible
And in particular
vandalism.
for section titled Hoyoverse Strike. Hoyoverse Strike, Hoyoverse Strike, SAG-AFTRA controversy, goes on and on. If
Oh,
we go to
dude.
Kaylee Mills' page right now, though, as of recording, you can see on the left-hand side, there is no section for SAG-AFTRA controversy or anything like that. What we have is simply biography, personal life, and then the filmography stuff
So
here.
so they keep
And
astroturfing
that's
it.
really it. However, check this out.
What the frick?
The tweet that Fire Sparkle tagged me to did include a screenshot. And in this screenshot, we can actually see that at the point in time when Fire Sparkle took this screenshot, Kaylee Mills' Wikipedia did apparently have the section SAG-AFTRA controversy. Now, as mentioned, that section, as of recording, is entirely gone. But here's an example of the edit war that was occurring. We can see on the left-hand side of the screenshot, that revision area says revision as of 0035 25th June 2025 by an account called Sean Laraway, section SAG-AFTRA
Oh
controversy,
jeez.
and the highlighted area reading, following Takanashi's self-announcement, Mills, along with several other voice actors, including Karina Becker,
Oh,
rightfully criticized him for scabbing. In comparison, on the right-hand side, a revision as of 0037 25th June 2025 by an account named Yerl Acosta reads, following Takanashi's self-announcement, Mills, along with several other voice actors, including Karina Becker, heavily criticized him for replacing Pat Node.
Well,
Now,
that's
obviously,
respectable.
if we had to pick between one of these two, that's more objective fact, more about what happened,
Yep.
and less opinionated and biased.
Definitely
It
go
would
with the
be
one on the right.
One on the right. Framing what happened as rightfully criticizing him for scabbing
And
is very
that
much
is
an
a
opinion,
bias.
and very much the sort of opinion you might expect from Sean Laraway or any other VA in that clique, any other SAG-AFTRA bootlicker.
Get
to have.
bias out of
But it doesn't
Wikipedia.
end there.
Come
We can
on.
see another change on the left-hand side. The text there at the bottom read, Takanashi, who was born in Texas, was aware of the strike, with Mills writing that
Why does it
Takanashi's
matter
tweet
where he was born?
diabolical and that he should have taken the role. It gets cut off there. Maybe also should is a typo for like who's trying to present that. Like clearly they meant should not have taken the role in that context. But let's focus on like the born in Texas thing. Because on the right-hand side it says, despite Takanashi, who was based in Japan, being unaware of the strike at that time, with Mills writing that Takanashi's tweet was diabolical and that he should, and it gets cut off. So let's compare this
which is
one
truth.
more time.
He wasn't aware
The one
until
on the
all of a
left
sudden
is
things
trying to
started
say
kicking him
that
in the
He
teeth.
was born in Texas and he is aware of the strike. The one on the right is saying that he is based in Japan and unaware of the strike. Now, according to what we do know, yes, it does seem, to my understanding, yeah, he was born in Texas, but he is currently working in Japan. Jacob Takanashi in his statement said that he is unaware of the strike, according to my recollection, and I think maybe he was being based in Japan as part of the reason for being unaware of the strike.
Yeah, of course. Because if he's
So
in
it's
Japan, he's
very
not paying
bizarre
attention to what the heck's
that
going
the
on in the
framing on
United
left
States.
by the Sean Laraway account was trying to mention that he was born in Texas and also saying that he was aware of the strike when Jacob Takanashi himself claims otherwise. Now, who knows if that's true or not by Jacob Takanashi, but at the very least, we certainly know that you can't definitively put that he was aware of the strike in this article when there's no definitive proof that he did, and he himself is claiming otherwise. On the right-hand side is a more reasonable presentation, just essentially saying what Jacob Takanashi said in his statement, which was, again, based in Japan and being unaware of the strike at the time.
Yeah, because he wasn't
Now, you
paying
could argue
attention
that
because he didn't
neither
need to.
thing regarding like being born in Texas or based in Japan is relevant to a section on Kaylee Mills' Wikipedia page about the SAG-AFTRA controversy. However, again, given that Jacob's statement did reference being based in Japan and therefore being unaware of the strike, that certainly has more relevancy than the whole like, oh, he was born in Texas thing. And again, aware of the strike is also misleading at best and an outright lie at worst.
That's just garbage.
Furthermore, this is an important thing to take note of because throughout this entire situation with Jacob Takanashi, the clique of VAs bootlicking for SAG-AFTRA have constantly tried to disparage Jacob Takanashi with this rhetoric. Specifically, they say things like, oh, he's not a real Japanese person. He was born in Texas.
Oh, jeez.
So seeing that same rhetoric interjected here by an account, by a Sean
Have we
Laraway
not
account
heard of a Japanese American?
Is not surprising
I mean,
at
come
all.
on.
And that takes us over here. Wikipedia has a section that lets people talk about things that are occurring on a specific page. So you wouldn't find this on Kaylee Mills' page itself, but there is a talk
Oh, of
section
course.
for Kaylee Mills' page, and that's where this talk, quote unquote, is occurring. Specifically, this section titled "Edit Warring on SAG-AFTRA Strike and Conflict of Interest." Now, it's a little bit hard to follow along with this because I believe the person making the comment is going to be mentioned at the very end here. So, for example, this whole comment. Oh my gosh, let me scroll up. There you go. Okay. So, for example, this whole comment seems to be left by this user Lullabying, if I'm understanding this properly. So it's like
Okay.
the invert of a typical post you might see on social media, where the name comes first and then the message. So keep that in mind as we read. It's going to be the message first and then the name. But I'll read it that way too to help it make more sense. I'm also
Thanks,
going to
Hero.
remove myself so we can get more of the text on screen here, make it easier for people to read and follow along. And so it begins with this user Lullabying saying, "I'm a bit concerned about the inclusion of Mills' involvement in the SAG-AFTRA strike, as I can see it turning into an edit war. I'm also concerned about Sean Laraway misrepresenting the sources by rewriting information skewing towards a particular point of view, which brings up issues about conflict of interest. I have undone Sean Laraway's edits as a result." Sean Laraway
Thank you for
responds and
that,
says,
Lullabying.
"It's not a conflict of interest because I do not know any of the individuals personally. The fact I put into the article were taken straight from the words of voice actors, whereas your article is filled with misinformation from anti-union astroturfing.
Oh God.
Everything I put in was correct." Yeah, so
Yeah,
obviously,
correct
even
with
just from the few
bias.
examples we went over, there was clear bias being shown. For example, saying rightfully criticized him for being a scab. That is very much an opinion. And also saying taken straight from the words of voice actors, that doesn't really
Yeah,
mean anything about
from the words of
specific
voice
context of
actors,
what is
it's
being
their
referred to.
opinions.
For example, someone from this clique of people could say something that's a false accusation about Jacob Takanashi hypothetically, and based on Sean Laraway saying, "Oh, it was taken straight from the words of the voice actors," he could then run with that false accusation and put it in there and use the same argument for it. "Oh, a voice actor said it. It was taken right from their words." That doesn't mean it's true, and that doesn't mean it should be put in the article. Again, that's a hypothetical, but you get my point about how that argument he's making is not a good one. But let's continue. Lullabying responds and says, "What was written by you were not what the listed sources say." Oh gosh.
Oh,
It's
calling
important
out.
not to misrepresent the articles listed as sources. If you can find reliable sources discussing what the voice actors say, feel free to share them. However, because you are a voice actor with possible professional ties to the United States voice acting industry, I will say there is a conflict of interest, as there can be bias.
Yep.
Completely.
Completely.
Is this?
There's
I guess
bias.
this is Sean Laraway. Yeah, the next two paragraphs here. Sorry, it's like weird format, as you can see.
Yeah,
But
weird.
okay, I think this is the Sean Laraway count for this next section entirely. It says, "Bud, the person or people who wrote the original article have a clear bias against Kaylee and Karina. I have an entire catalog of sources here."
Uses-
and that's absolutely hilarious because this
uses
great
Bud.
source is literally a subreddit variant of Gaming Circle Jerk. One of the most notoriously
Gaming Circle
terrible
Jerk.
subreddits out there, which is saying a lot because there's a lot of
Oh
terrible subreddits.
God.
And this particular post that he's sourcing is literally a Redditor compiling posts from like the VA click on Blue Sky, where they desperately try and present their misinformation, their very biased misinformation, as objective fact, which it is certainly not. For example, look how hilarious this is. Part of that Reddit post reads, "This VA goes over how a certain drama video is full of errors." And it links to Sean Laraway's post on Blue Sky, where he's all mad at Mujin's video and does a terrible job of actually disproving anything in that video, by the way. Now return to Sean Laraway on Wikipedia and this conversation. We left off where he said, "I have no professional ties to the industry of me typing this out. The Genshin Impact quote-unquote fans are the ones with the bias. They have spouted anti-union astroturfing." Yeah, you said the same thing just a second ago. "Jacob knew just because he lived in Japan doesn't mean he is not a scab." You don't know what he knows or not with the information we have. Just like I talked about earlier regarding the rhetoric these VAs attempt to use about Jacob being from the US but living in Japan, we see the same thing going on once again right here. And so then he says, "I am a voice actor, which means unlike Redditors, I actually have experience and I'm a trusted source." So hold on a second. This guy sourced Reddit a second ago. He said, "I have an entire catalog of sources here." And that was a post on Reddit. But now he's saying,
Oh,
unlike
God.
Redditors, I actually have experience and am a trusted source. Oh my gosh, bro. You're the one sourcing Redditors. What the frick? Furthermore, how are you a trusted source? You seem extremely untrustworthy, but okay, bro. The professional voice actors have debunked everything claimed in the article. It is clearly biased in favor of Jacob and against Kaylee or
Oh,
Karina.
jeez.
Look, to be fair, I don't know what it said originally. Maybe it was biased in favor of Jacob, but clearly from what
From what was previously shown, it was going for an objective stance in the writing, not a bias. But of course, he's going to call that out, trying to claim bias because his fifis got hurt.
I've seen, the Sean Laraway account was definitely trying to make the article, that being the Wikipedia page about Kaylee Mills, biased in defense of Kaylee and the union. And professional VAs debunking everything, yeah, X to doubt on that too. Like, these VAs have tried debunking stuff throughout the last number of months, and pretty much every time it just makes them look worse and like a bunch of liars. And so then we get this other
Okay.
account, Pyamon, responding and saying,
Oh God.
responding to where, excuse me, first this account, Juju376, says, we can't do or. Then the Pyamon account says, responding to where Sean Laraway posted, Jacob Nude, just because he lived in Japan doesn't mean he's not a scab. To trust
Citation
me is not a
needed.
trusted source. Please don't spread misinformation, especially if you have no intention of elaborating it. Then, responding to where Sean had said, the professional voice actors have debunked everything claimed in the article. Pyamon saying, who are these professional voice actors you're talking about? Every single one of you have different answers to the same question. Even Joe ZJ and some VAs would agree that Jacob is not a scab.
Bam.
Juju376 then saying, not only is Do Trust Me not a trusted source, but Wikipedia also doesn't allow original research.
Yep.
Then we get a bunch of links here. This is, again, from Sean Laraway, I guess.
Oh God, he's trying to cite.
Just because someone lives in a different country doesn't mean that stealing a striking worker's job isn't scabbing. Lots of companies during the strike would try to outsource striking jobs overseas.
Yeah, of course, because they don't exactly have a required agreement in their country. That's one. Okay, of course, New Hampshire Bulletin. Okay, that's pro-labor, Swedish Union. Yeah, that's against Tesla, pro-union article, pro-union article. None of these are actually coming back as anything that is related to the actual strike. And gaming unjerk. Oh God.
Links to some like random websites here. If you're going to use tweets for this, then also use Blue Sky from real actors, not even in Genshin debunking this. The actors went on strike for AI protections, but they wanted different solutions. Some union and some non-union. K.
No,
I love how he's
jeez.
like typoing above and now he's typoing Kaylee's name. Would have come back if Hoyo would have just signed the Nava writer. Okay, first of
Ugh. Yeah, I'm sure Hero's going to go into this, but of course, the stupid thing none of these people actually love to talk about is the fact that the Japanese contracts included their own personal protections for AI protection.
all, people are questioning how this guy seems to have like omniscientific knowledge of what Jacob knows or doesn't know, and he doesn't acknowledge that. Instead, he's just responding about scabbing or not. That's not the point of contention here, though. This is like a completely this is like misdirection. But to be quite frank, in my opinion, I don't think he's intentionally misdirecting here. I think this guy's just highly incompetent, and he just can't argue like properly at all. So
Don't gaslight me that it's
how much more
raining.
of this is there, man? This is dealing with these VAs is funny, but it's kind of painful because like you have to actually like damage your brain to try to understand their logic. For any Kengan fans out there, it's like when Shen Wulong was fighting Gao Mukaku and he had to like nerf himself just to try and have like a better fight. I have to like nerf myself to try and understand these VAs. So Pyamon says, what strike? Where's your source that says that Genshin was a struck project? Where's the official announcement that Hoyo was struck? None? See, you're the one who keeps spreading misinformation. It's just collective and unorganized work refusal. Sean Laraway responds and says, literally from Vice calling it a strike. It's not a SAG strike, it's a non-union strike, an individual strike. Paimon says, are you telling me that... Hold up. Says, recast announcement end of March 2025, Vice article June 13, 2025. Are you telling me that Jacob is a time traveler? That are you talking about? Or no, Sean Laraway then says, that are you talking about? If Vice makes an article calling it a strike, then you should call it a strike. Jacob wasn't even mentioned in the Vice article. I don't know if Paimon's going to point it out, but I will. Vice calling it a strike doesn't mean anything. Some
Yep.
random journalist at Vice saying something doesn't matter.
Yeah, and of course in the year of our Lord 2025, Vice has actually taken so many hits to its credibility that it's stupid. Just stupid.
Like, what is this guy trying to get at? If Vice said this, it must be true. I just blindly believe everything that Vice says. Okay, bro, great, good for you. And then we got Paimon saying, people started calling Jacob a scab long before that Vice article, though. Sean Larway says, if a Vice article is out now calling it a strike, then it should be updated / referred to it now as a strike. What the frick is this guy talking about? You clearly have a bias. You've been moving the goalpost, and your username is clearly a reference to Paimon, the Genshin Impact character. Oh my gosh, dude. He did like the meme where it's like that hit character from, or like that character from hit game Genshin Impact or whatever. He like unironically just did that. If I have a conflict of interest, then so do you. Look, again, maybe this other person's biased, but like if we're gonna argue who has a bigger conflict of interest here, surely it's the one who's trying to act like he's a professional VA and has been bootlicking for the union and this clique for months now, if not longer, maybe. Now what do we got here? Paimon says, literally my first post in this thread, responding to where Sean had said, Jacob knew just because he lived in Japan doesn't mean he's not a scab. Citation needed. What goalpost has been moved? Also, conflict of interest have nothing to do with random people picking up a random username. Yeah, what was that all about too? I was talking about the meme thing because it was funny, but that's also a good point. Like, what the frick? Your name is referencing Paimon. You must have a conflict of interest. Like, what? What the frick? And we got a giant post here from Sean Larway. Sure, random username. That happens to be a reference to the Genshin character Paimon, whose VA you brought up. I literally debunked your claim, yet you kept moving the goalpost. Again, my real source says that workers in other countries taking jobs from striking workers is still scabbing. The Local. Links to some website, The Local. And considering the original article used Twitter, it conveniently left out posts that identified him as a white man from Texas. Oh my gosh, dude. Who followed voice actors on social media and was alleged to have been warned by voice actors before taking the role. So that's interesting. According to Sean Larway here, allegedly other VAs warned Jacob not to take the role. He's trying to say this in a way that, like, it's supposed to make Jacob look bad. It doesn't. It makes y'all look bad. Like, you're trying to threaten the dude. Let's continue. So making an article that was clearly biased for Jacob is factually incorrect, especially when you Jacob defenders refuse to accept any new piece of information that proves your claims wrong. Paimon says, at this point, we were just arguing about personal identity and speculation. Then this user Lullaby says, so far there is nothing reported on whether Takanashi knew about the strike, and it's just the assumption of he said, she said. Let's leave that out of the conversation. Also, at Sean Larway, conflict of interest on Wikipedia means that people who have personal / professional connections to people, companies, and or general industry should not edit Wikipedia articles directly and must disclose their connections. They must put the template WP disclose on their user page to do so. Paimon says, currently the only confirmation that is not an assumption was from voice actor Nathan Noakes. Jacob is not aware of the strike. Linking to where Nathan said that. That's right. I think that's what happened. Yeah, I think Nathan said that he spoke to Jacob, and Jacob claimed he didn't know about the strike. John Larway then says, Nathan alleges that. It cannot be used as confirmation. A lot of voice actors who knew Jacob and worked with him debunked at this.
Oh, of course, and they're going to go to Blue
The same
app.
argument would apply there, though. If you're saying, like, Nathan doesn't know that for sure and he's alleging it, the same would apply to the argument he's trying to make about VAs alleging that Jacob did know.
Yeah, because
also, Nathan
you're
isn't
alleging between Twitter and Blue
that
Sky.
Jacob didn't know. He's saying Jacob told him that he didn't know. If you want to argue that it's a lie, that's one thing. But the point I'm making is that Sean isn't even understanding the concept of allege properly here. This whole argument doesn't make sense.
Oh, man.
Finally, Sean adds this comment where he seems like very mad. He says, oh, and by the way, just because the public at large didn't know about a strike doesn't mean it still isn't a strike. Just because there is no announcement doesn't invalidate a strike from existing.
Well, it means it's a
Jacob
wildcat
Takanashi
strike,
is a
you
scab.
dolt.
And so after that, we have what seems to be a moderator going by Link20XX here, and reprimanding Paimon as well as Sean Larway, but especially Sean Larway here for calling Jacob a scab, saying it's a personal attack. And it's really funny to me how often this clique of VAs try to use that word, scab, as some like ultimate gotcha. They seem to think that calling someone a scab means they can treat that person terribly and say whatever they want about them. What's hilarious about this is the clique is so unlikable that by far the majority of people don't even care if Jacob is a scab or not. And they view the VAs and their clique as the ones by far in the wrong. But anyways, the rest of the moderation post there seems to discuss why the entire SAG-AFTRA controversy page ultimately ended up getting removed from Kaylee Mills' Wikipedia page, and I'll leave this video here. So thank you for tuning in. I know this was a lot of reading. I hope you enjoyed this segment though and found it interesting, because that was a lot of craziness. And like, we've talked about Sean Larway before, but somehow this dude continues to get more and more unhinged. And it's really interesting because the official SAG-AFTRA video game strike is done, and the union, as well as the pro SAG VAs, have tried to act like this is all a massive dub for them.
Mm-hmm.
But then you take a look at their socials, and they seem more unhappy than ever.
Yeah, of
lashing
course
out at
they do.
people and just seeming overall miserable.
Because they
Let me know what
lost.
you think about all this stuff in the comments.
So they're
Thank
all
you so much
sour
for tuning in.
grapes.
Consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed my coverage. Appreciate you.
Because of course
Have
they're
a
all
great
sour
weekend, and I'll
grapes
see
and
you in
crap.
the next one.
Because they lost their protections, they lost all of this stuff, they lost the original strike, and on top of that, due to all of what happened, is even some of the more popular voice actors in the space actually fell off with some of it, like the woman who did the voice act work for FemShep from Mass Effect. She actually made her statements and got in trouble with SAG over what she actually said, because she wasn't down with the Wildcat strike that was going on with the Genshin people. And they got all butthurt over that one. So there was infighting amongst all of the VAs to begin with, but on top of all of this, it just got disingenuous for all of these emotional takes all over the place. It just gets frickin' ridiculous with these people. I mean, and the one thing that we got to think about is the fact that AI can be coming for voice act. I mean, voice act work could actually get eliminated by AI. And I mean, all we got to do is pretty much just go look at different things that are coming out. One of my favorite AI creators, I mean, granted, there's AI slop out there that I just kind of quirk my eyebrow and go, why are we doing this? You know, because they use the AI to actually put forth a bias, and they try to use it to influence, and then they put so many different, you know, kind of things to hide who's providing the bias and where it's going. So you can basically, with regards to that content, just X to doubt on the whole thing. So it's kind of disgusting. But then there's creative uses of generative AI that, I mean, one of my favorite examples is Don P. Bongwater. I mean, he's basically taking, you know, versions of internet personalities, and he's getting reacts from the people who are actually in these videos that he's created caricatures of. And the whole point is he's doing it as parody. He's doing jokes. That is transformative, and he's not trying to make full-on deep fake stuff. He's doing it as parody. Now, that could be considered fair use as far as I'm concerned for it, because he's not actually taking away anybody's job or anything like that, because I look at it kind of like how you would see the old SNL skits, you know, where you'd have the actual actors that would do it. And that's where all of a sudden we get into the realm of AI replacing actors and full-on work and that kind of stuff. But currently right now, the way, I mean, even Don, he put out a video of how to actually do it. Trust me, half tempted to actually jump in on that one myself, just to figure out how to do a series of something that I think would be kind of funny and cool to do. But it just plays into the whole fact of actors are wanting to keep their positions in their job. And I think if AI continues in its space where it's at, where every time that you actually create a character, I mean, you can use the prompt. This is one thing that even Don mentioned, is you can use the prompt, but it'll never get it exactly right every time. There's always changes and differences. Even though he's using the same prompt every time, it generates it differently every time. So in that vein, AI is not ready to be able to actually do full on, you know, replacement of people, because we'll know. We'll see the inconsistencies. It's going to drive people nuts. That's why I still say there's time where people are going to do things. And my personal opinion, I'd love it if I was able to actually do a production and be able to actually, do a full script, use actual people, provide people jobs. That'd be great. It'd be awesome. But unfortunately, everybody is able to have their own imagination, and most of us just don't have the money to pull it off. And that's where generative AI is coming in, and that's where Hollywood is getting very, very pissed off, because it's the realization that everybody out there in the world could all of a sudden become a scriptwriter, and then all of a sudden the entire market would be so flooded with entertainment that they're done. And that's what they're afraid of. But of course, if everything's good and going, definitely give a like, comment, subscribe. And let me just pop this on over for peoples. All right. Good and good. There we go. Definitely a decent enough Saturday. So, moving forward with our night, definitely wanted to look over some more stuff. So, now, with regards to this next one, definitely wanted to check out Rev. Now, Rev is a decent person. A lot of people don't like him because of his takes. He has his own opinions, just like I have mine. I mean, I've had a couple of instances where I've disagreed with Rev. It's not very often, but I have. And that's okay. He would agree to disagree with me as well. And we could shake hands and part ways. That's how it's supposed to be. If you're a good person, if you're a decent person, you will honestly see somebody's differences, respect them for their differences, and then you'd be able to sit down at the bar, have a beer, and say, all's good. So how's the beer? And that's kind of the key. We need to get back to that these days. But let's see what Rev's got to say today.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rev here. So it's like the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, and that's how it works with Blue Sky when a bunch of weirdos try to virtue signal about people like me for attention.
We're going here.
And guess what? You make content out of them. So we have this very bizarre thread coming from this VTuber.
It's like old Tectone says, monetize your haters if you can.
Right here on Blue Sky, which is the greatest echo chamber on the internet. And really, like, looking at Blue Sky, it's like finding a hidden reserve, a gold mine in your backyard, because the amount of content you can farm off of Blue Sky and the delusional people who coexist there, it's unbelievable.
I might have to start using my Blue Sky account.
Has been saying recently that they hate drama, right? They hate.
Then why did you go there?
And of course, they're a hypocrite who starts drama and tries to call people Nazis on the internet, listing off 4 individuals who they believe are actual, genuine Nazis. Kirsha.
Oh, of course.
Silvervale. Me, of course.
Oh, nice.
And Pippa.
Oh,
These 4 individuals
jeez.
constantly getting dragged. Yes, this person genuinely believes.
Next thing you know, you're going to start calling out over 3/4 of the frickin'
They literally
VTubing.
believe we are living, breathing Nazis. Not just these people, but other VTubers we'll see mentioned in just a second. So obviously, this is quite delusional. Let's dive a little further. So here's one of the people who's also mentioned in the reply section. Bao.
What?
Yes, Bao is being accused of being a Nazi by Blue Sky. Why, you may ask? Well, here's the proof from this user. Bao was gleefully rated by Kirsha. I'm figuring she's at the Nazi table. So she's calling this person, Bao, a Nazi because they got raided by Kirsha.
And that is completely disingenuous. It's like if you hit the host button or you hit the raid button or you hit anything else, you're doing your stream. You're in the middle of your stuff. You're not really paying attention to a lot of things. And what ends up happening is you look at it, you see somebody raided you, and then all of a sudden, what do? You call it out and you're like, hey, thanks for the raid, because they're bringing viewers to you. Even if it's just the streamer, even if it's just a few people, they're bringing people to your content, to your stream. So, of course, you're going to be thankful. You're going to gleefully say, hi, how's it going? Thanks for raiding. Thanks for bringing people over here, because it's where all of a sudden it's a thank to the other streamer, because the other streamer chose you out of how many other people out there. That's the thing. I mean, this is why a lot of different places, smaller creators, raid into the bigger ones, because, well, they already have a bigger community. They're moving over to the different spot. And I mean, I'll even raid into people that I've met or seen, some other smaller creators. And the thing is, normally they have some pretty chill streams and they're good. I mean, it's common courtesy to be thankful, to be happy, and be thankful for somebody coming to your stream. Just saying that they're going to be at, you know, you're going to throw what is tantamount to the new slur at somebody because they did something, because they were reacting to somebody doing something. And of course you have to be, it's common courtesy to be thankful. Just forgiving common courtesy makes you, yeah, that's ridiculous. These people, I don't even know what to say. Dad's disappointment. I have dad disappointment.
That is insane. And these people are like, oh, Bow? Huh? And this person says, chat, it's not great. Maybe she could be informed, but then again, maybe she'll sooner notice a drop-off in viewers than listen to a she's a dang transphobe message. You're blaming someone and labeling them one of the worst things you could ever label someone because they got raided by a VTuber you find problematic because she's outspoken about her beliefs and you just don't agree with it. Absolutely insane. But it gets worse. This person lists a whole host of people who are also collaborators.
Oh boy.
Nazi collaborators. Because they have at one point collabed with Pippa, including names like Billion, Dokibird, Mari Mari, Bow, and a bunch of FaZe Connect members. Henya, the genius.
Oh, of course.
Henya, Pikami, by the way, in case you don't know who that is.
Yep.
That's her new account.
The original Pikami.
Henya is one of these people being listed here. Absolutely insane. In fact, people would mention that in the replies as well. This person saying, a certain self-described genius who still hasn't spoken up about the Nazi harassment going on in her name. They ask who? Henya/Pikami. Censored.
Well, of course.
This person is in their 30s. And they're censoring names of random VTubers because they're that afraid of the people they're trying to slander. In case you're not familiar with the VTubing scene, Henya/Pikami was basically bullied off of the internet 2 years ago over Hogwarts Legacy. She announced
this
that
dad was glad he is not here for that.
Playing Hogwarts Legacy and streaming it, and she was called a transphobe, a racist, a bigot, all these things. And at the time, she was working with a different agency, and basically, from the context we've been provided,
so basically, she was based.
She went through sped up her graduation from that company because basically that happened, and she went offline for like a month. It was a really bad situation. If you don't know Henya/Pikami, one of the nicest, most wholesome people you'll ever encounter in content creation. And the fact that they did that to her is insane. And still, 2 years later, these people are still slandering her and making her out to be some sort of boogeyman. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane the lengths these people go. And of course, the original poster of this entire thing would quote themselves and add in Pikami and Bow. Yeah, absolutely fantastic
Oh, of
work
course.
over at Blue Sky. Here's some more mentions from this VTuber as well, saying, I haven't seen Silver go that far, but TERFs are usually Nazi bedfellows.
Oh, don't
That
worry,
is the
my
most
wife gets called
terminally
that on a
online
weekly
sentence I
basis.
think I've ever read in my life. And by the way, they're calling her a TERF because she played Hogwarts Legacy. It all comes
Oh.
back to Hogwarts Legacy.
Of course.
Silverveil
Wizard
streamed
game.
Hogwarts Legacy, and she was harassed.
I haven't
threatened,
finished
her
the Wizard
family was
game yet.
doxxed, all these things because she dared to play
Been too busy.
the Wizard game. And now we have these people in the year 2025 still talking about this and calling her a TERF and also a Nazi bedfellow for playing Hogwarts Legacy. It's unreal. But anyways, for most names I see in the comments, people can be genuinely oblivious. Calling them Nazis are too much. However, keeping them on thin ice, calling out their open associations and not watching them over it is valid. All Nazis are bad actors, but not all bad actors are Nazis. It's easy to miss some stuff when a
What-
person has been so normalized. Like, I never liked Asmin, but it
Oh, of
didn't
course.
click to me how Nazi aligned.
Of course I gotta bring
people
up
was,
Voldemort.
like, diet Nazi? Is that like the next phrase you're going to use? Absolutely insane. Right here, you're saying you shouldn't be.
Since
calling
we're talking
people
Wizard
Nazis
game,
just
you gotta
because
bring up
they are
Voldemort.
Problematic or have some sort of controversial opinion. But then, literally, the next quote here is calling Asmongold Nazi aligned. Amazing. But don't worry, the original poster would clarify what they mean by all this stuff. I disagree. Some of these people are not just Nazi sympathizers, but genuine, actual Nazis. And if you're in bed with the Nazis, then yes, you're a Nazi. It's the Nazi bar analogy. I just found out. Apparently, I am a actual Nazi, according to this user who's clearly very unwell. Including, you know, they're also mentioning people like Bao and Pikami and all these other people. It's absolutely insane.
These
the
people
delusions
would
that go
lose
on
their
over at Blue
actual
Sky. This is basically like a very
effing crap out
concentrated
of their
dose
pants
of the most
if they
unhinged Twitter
really,
freaks that have
truly
migrated over
met
to this echo chamber
one
that
of
is Blue
these
Sky. But anyways,
in
let's
real
move
life.
on. We also got another.
They would
name
run for the
mentioned here.
hills.
Effing Leaflet. That
They need to
slime VTuber has a
seriously
bunch of
go
thumbnails gleefully
watch-
reacting to horrible stuff like slavery and Project 2025.
Ooh, I gotta pause for this. But they need to go back and watch like American History X. Old flick. Edward Norton. And it's crazy. It actually shows what it really is. They didn't pull any punches on that movie. And honestly, if any of those people, even for one iota, ran into somebody like that on the street, they'd run the other way. They would. Because if they so much as started a single thing, they'd see a person like that and they'd be like, oh God, I gotta get out of here. It's kind of safe for you to actually spout off when you're not in striking range. I mean, come on. But of course, discussion about Leaflet here. This is just a disingenuous take from one of the videos that Leaf actually did earlier this year, because all of a sudden they did the YouTube AI picked a thumbnail from 3 of its picks available that would, pick what would be the best likely to click or whatever, and it was just Leaf doing a react on somebody else's video. But of course, just because the thumbnail looked horrible, they went off on it.
So what they're referring to is something that actually was covered by Vice and those various hit pieces on VTubers.
Oh yeah, forgot
where
about that.
This is Leaflet.
Yep.
By the way,
Yep.
sub to Leaflet, great content creator.
There's the
This
thumbnail.
thumbnail that she made, it's not her thumbnail, it's someone else's thumbnail, and she obviously put her VTuber model over it. And this is not about slavery, this is about the prison system. So they're wrong on so many levels, and they're trying to cancel her over someone else's thumbnail that she attached in a reaction. Like, absolutely insane stuff. But here's another mention. Snuffy. Yes.
Okay.
Snuffy the VTuber is also a Nazi, according to this individual. And they say, this person says, what did they do?
Yeah, what did they do?
Support for Nazis. Nazi bar theory, really.
What?
What'd they do? apparently they got raided by Kirsha like Bao, and
Oh,
like Bao,
God.
they didn't say anything from what I've looked up after someone mentioned them. That's
Li-
it.
Like I
You
said
get raided
before,
once
raiding into somebody's
by a
channel is just a
problematic,
courtesy.
contentious VTuber like
Just thanking
Kirsha.
somebody for raiding.
And now
Ugh.
you're a Nazi. I mean, this like is this what it looks like to be one? This is a certain German man's top guy right here. Are you serious? It's unreal, man. Here's
Yeah.
one of the users just basically going mask off. Okay, at this point, just making it
Just-
very clear
Oof.
that there's no good faith here. This is how they truly believe. This person says, to be really honest, it might be better to assume that any big VTuber is a Nazi or doesn't care until proven
Oh,
otherwise. It might
oh,
not be
God.
correct, but it's safer to make that guess than to take a chance and be disappointed. Yeah, we should definitely go around dehumanizing people and labeling them these terrible things by default, so people think they can treat them however they want because that's how social media works. This is insane. This is the
Yeah,
insanity that's
and it's
going
the
on
Blue
over at
Sky
Blue
Hug
Sky.
Box again.
Let's continue, because I have a theory why this person's so mad. The original poster's so mad at all these VTubers. They're just unhappy. Like, I look at recent posts like this saying, I'm 23 and I feel 46. I'm too effing young to feel this worn out by the world and by people.
Then get
I
off
say
the
this
internet.
completely unironically with the best intentions. I really mean this.
Touch grass.
Log off. Seriously, log off. I think all of this person's problems, the majority of them, and the stress that they're going through would evaporate the second they logged off of social media. Because clearly it has absolutely consumed them. It has gridlocked this person into thinking they're battling Nazis. Like there's some like someone storming the beaches of Normandy back in World War II. When in reality, they're just crying on Blue Sky about VTubers. Like that's what's going on here.
jeez.
And then you have another post saying, I'm objectively such a failure.
Ugh,
I don't think that's nice to say about
gonna
yourself.
declare yourself as
I'm
a
not gonna
girl
say that about
failure?
you, but I
Great.
think, again, if you're talking about your VTubing career, I think your time would be much better served making content and focusing on your own community than slandering and crying about a bunch of VTubers who have absolutely nothing to do with you, and you feel so open, wasting your time and your energy slandering these people. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now here's another one saying if you want to donate to their coffee,
Oh.
I'm gonna do you one better. They actually just emailed me. This VTuber just emailed me, and they said instead of giving money to their Ko-Fi, you should do a super thanks chat dono on this video right here. That's actually how we're gonna support this cause. Just a little different technical approach here. If you guys want to do that, I only mentioned that too, by the way, because the last two videos I mentioned super chat thanks,
Okay.
right? Who knew there were so many oil barons?
Yeah,
in
you
the
can super
Red
chat in the
community?
comments now.
What is going on with you guys? Like, I'll take 1 second to say, like, what is going on with the amount of super chat thanks? Like, it's actually insane. I try to heart every comment, anyone who did that. I hope everyone got covered because I appreciate it very much. But yes, if you want to support the cause here, make it head my way. And it makes the worst people seethe, by the way. A lot of people have been seething
Well, of
about
course.
that stuff. But anyways, keep up the good work, guys. But here's another free promo. A little different this time. A little more wholesome, okay? Where they say, please repost any and every Summer Slam stream you see. Good points.
Oh, nice.
You should repost my wife. My wife is doing a VTuber SummerSlam event starting today and tomorrow at 7 p.m. EST. There's going to be a lot of different
heard she
events
actually
involved with
get a
this
lot of work.
VTuber SummerSlam, but
Managed to
most
get some
importantly
good
as
money
well,
in there.
she's working with Gamers Outreach, which brings video games to kids in hospitals, which I think is a very good cause. So I'd like to see you guys there to hang out and support a good cause. I'll put a link to her Twitter account in the pinned comment of this video if you want to check out her various socials, as well as the pinned comment that has all the information for the VTuber SummerSlam. Again, good cause. Hope to see you guys there and to
Definitely
help
good
out
to bring video
with
games to
the
kids.
entire events. Let's go back to the actual content here, okay? So the reason I found out about this whole thing is because of Hero Hey. Hero Hey made a video about this. He was also mentioned in the replies as another Nazi in the VTubing scene. But they responded to his video by saying, look, Mom, I'm famous, trying to smugly react to all this, where right after that they say, who is this Hero Hey
Oh, jeez.
maggot
you don't
You know,
know
it's kind of
who
funny
Hero
for someone
is,
who's labeling people Nazis to see them
rewind
using,
stream by about an hour.
dehumanizing language like this, calling people literal insects. Like, I don't know. Sounds like you're actually the more aggressive person than anyone else you're talking about at this point. Like, I don't call people this. Do you? Why do you? And you act like you don't know who he is. You're just gleefully talking about him, covering you. And then we see this right here. See, this is the Streisand effect because, man, that post wasn't that popular, but y'all boosted it. Dude, it has like 40 likes. Relax.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Also,
Sit
again,
down.
why are you so happy to see someone you called a Nazi or you consider a Nazi reacting to
Yeah.
you? Why would you be happy about that? Are you collaborating with Nazis? Yeah, right? Let's do the
Now we see
Nazi
exactly
bar
where that
analogy
goes.
once again. But here's another post saying, "Hi, slandering me isn't going to get you anywhere, by the way. I have plenty of pride. I stand up to Nazis on the daily. I work to improve this community and always seek to make peace with people, unlike you, who has jumped to the extreme of me acting in bad faith because, I don't know, I felt like it." What are you even saying? Also, like, you stand up to Nazi. No, you're not. You're just seething on Blue Sky about VTubers who are not what you're saying they are. And it's so obvious. It's a waste of time. You're not freaking Nelson Mandela, man. Like, relax, okay? You're not some brave activist. You're wasting time. And you're watering down terms to things that they are not meant to be, okay? You've completely ruined various phrases by watering it down to everyone you don't like. That's all it is at the end of the day. And this behavior is completely and utterly embarrassing. And it gets worse. Hey, I'll be fairly offline now and late Monday next week. I just wanted to say the last couple of weeks have been rough, and I've been rather negative. I don't want to go silent for half a week without saying anything. I still believe in you all. I believe in our ability to make people smile. Let's, as a space/community/group of miscreants, etc., work together, not apart. I want to see VTubing rise to new heights and help the most deserving in our communities. Streaming saved my life, and I want us to all work together to make that much of a difference and more. And streaming is limitless. VTubing is limitless. We can be limitless, but we have to stand up for marginalized, disabled, and BIPOC causes and support.
Yep.
And we need to stand steadfast
Yep.
as a singular bulwark against fascism
Singular
and Nazism.
bulwark.
We can't let bigotry win nor define us. Again, what a hero. You know, everyone stand up. Applaud this individual. This is the bravest person I've ever seen in my life. Fighting their own delusions on Blue Sky is helping the VTubing scene become limitless.
BIPOC
in a place to
causes.
help
Well,
out so many,
I'm working on my
marginalized
next
people.
model.
What a hero. But anyways,
It's
just wanted to share this
I'm
little
native.
peek in the
I'm
Blue Sky. I hope you guys enjoyed.
getting
As
somebody to
always.
actually do
Feel free to share
stuff.
your thoughts about today's topics in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Give old bro a like, comment, sub. You know, he's decent enough. He's got his own thing. So, of course, definitely at the very end there, I like to actually mention the fact, I'm what they would consider BIPOC. So, honestly, with regards to causes, that's where I tend to swing slightly to the left on some things. I mean, it is how things go. I mean, it's understandable, you know? I mean, because being, you know, Canadian term, First Nations, Indigenous, Native American, yeah, I'm getting something built for a concept sheet for, you know, the next model that I'm looking for. And it's actually turning out to be pretty good. We'll see how things are actually moving along with it. The concept artist said it's going to take them a couple more days, see if they can get the color schemes right and get things straightened out, but it's looking really good. So at least I'm happy about that. So let's definitely take a look at this next one, because, you know, the whole H3H3 thing. I wanted to actually see what Andrew's got to talk about today, because he goes forward to explain the entire lawsuit from a lawyer's perspective. His whole catchphrase is where you be your own judge. Well, let's definitely get into this and see what Andrew's got to say, because I haven't seen anything from Andrew in a while.
So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We're just going to start with looking at his video. And this is, I'm suing these 3 creators, right? And spoiler alert, I am not one of those 3 creators. So let's get into it here.
My favorite hobby is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on lawyers. Today, I invite you into my home.
Okay, first little comment here. And by the way, I am going to be pausing this all the way through. We're not going to just do a
Okay.
full watch through with I don't pause it. The lawsuit and the lawsuits could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, but honestly, the way he's dealing with it, he can probably get this done under $100K if he wanted to. And by the way, there are lawyers that will take this on a part contingency. So I'm not sure which lawyers he's working with, but it's possible that he could get this done for under $100K. So I don't know about hundreds of thousands of dollars, but okay.
Let's keep this.
home to
Let's
share
keep
my
this on a
favorite
budget.
pastime with you. Join me in creating generational wealth for my attorney. Let me tell you guys.
Yeah, and by the way, I see people in the chat saying, "Is it burning money illegal?" I don't think that was real money. I think that was a prop. I'm pretty sure that was a prop.
As a story.
Yeah, you can get single
About a
dollar
year and a
props
half
easy
ago,
for real
It's a big
cheap.
conversation called ReactGate. ReactGate was a debate going on in the streaming community about what constituted fair use. People like Hassan,
Yeah, that's
XQC,
true.
and many of the large Twitch streamers would watch other creators' entire video on their stream. They would rarely add sufficient commentary or even pause the video to speak. Most egregiously, they would re-upload the entire VOD to YouTube with the same thumbnail, the same title, so that they could cannibalize traffic from the original video. Here's what
Okay, let's start with that. So let's start with some basic principles because he's building a foundation here. So at the core of
Okay.
copyright, and of course, this is a very
Let's
fundamental
listen to
point.
this. Lawyers got
Copyright
things to
protections
say.
do start the moment you create a work. But at the fundamental analysis, I'm going to really break it down, is okay, you've got your protections, but there is this exemption. There is this exception for fair use. Now, fair use is a case-by-case analysis. Every single
Yeah.
video is different.
Yeah, every
So
time you
while
do
one
things.
video may be fair use, another one might not. And 2 judges can look at the same video, and one could think the commentary is fair use, and one could think it's not. So
Yeah,
it's very
that's the danger.
difficult to nail a copyright case and say, yep, that one is transformative and that one's not. However, what he is pointing out is a problem on all platforms, especially regarding cannibalizing traffic. Because at the core of the
Okay.
analysis, and this is something I'm going to go back to time and time again, is are you using your video as a substitute for the original video? If the answer to that is yes, this is a substitute for the original video. Someone would watch your video instead of the original, then the judge is going to weigh on those scales on the side of this is not fair use, this is not protected, and you are violating your infringing copyright. So this is not something that's black and white. This is not something that is super objective. It is a subjective analysis based on several factors. But that substitute angle is the most important thing you should think about. Are they trying to use this as a replacement for the original?
Yeah, that is a good thing to actually call out, because of course, even what I'm doing here right now is I'm looking to talk about the things that are going on, and that, I mean, I'm hoping I'm actually in the safe zone with regards to transformative content, because that's the whole thing. You stop, you pause, you talk, you're talking over everything, or you're talking in the midst of things and you're bringing up the different points of what the content is actually bringing up. So, I mean, this is where I'm actually watching this space with rapt attention, because to see where this is going to go, it can change the entire sphere of React content, or it could eliminate React content from all of the internet. I mean, it's seriously something to watch, because it could change everything.
Are they doing it by taking the original wholesale? And that's why I've always said, including on my channel, I've said, look, I don't have a problem if anybody clips my stuff, etc. The only thing that is problematic is if you take the entire video with no commentary, no clipping, whatever, and you just re-upload it. That is a problem. That is a substitute. That is saying, okay, instead of going here, I'm just going to re-upload your video here. That's clearly infringement, right? So what these people are going to argue is, okay, well, does sitting in a chair in the corner fundamentally change that? And how much do you need to talk? How much do you need to interact? How much do you need to
Yeah.
do in order for that to be transformative? Do you need to talk 10% of the time, 5% of the time, 25% of the time? What ratio of input is necessary for something to be transformative? And that's a very important question. And I do feel that there are judges that could think either way. But we're going to get into it because these specific examples are important. But more broadly, a lot of people do this. A lot of people just watch videos, sit in the corner in the little cube, and really don't add much, and really don't have much to add. And I'm not even going to point out whether it's educational or not. I'm just talking in general for commentary. Just sitting in the corner and not doing much. Yeah, that's not really adding too much to the overall conversation.
What Lamino had to say about this phenomenon.
I don't mind people reacting to my videos, but I do mind when they play the entirety of my video. A
Yeah.
face cam in the corner or the occasional
Yeah.
interruption does nothing to address that issue.
Okay, I can
My
agree with
video is
that.
still being played from beginning to end in someone else's stream or video. It's neither ethical nor necessary to feature the entirety of someone else's work. Or, they could do the bare minimum and ask for permission.
So I will say this. This is my comment on that, is that it sometimes is necessary to show the whole thing because you need the context of the whole work. So if you're going to give an opinion, you're going to give a reaction, you're going to comment on something, you want to comment on the entirety. Just commenting on a clip can often be out of context. Oftentimes, if you just take 30 seconds or 45 seconds or 1 minute of something, that's not the full context of the conversation. And in fact, I would encourage people to look at the whole thing because oftentimes people are not looking at everything they're saying. Now, mind you, maybe looking at like super chats or something else, rewatching a live is not necessary. Okay, whatever. But in general, if someone is trying to give a message, you would want them to fully respond to that. However, you'd want them to actually be contributing a response, right? That's optimistically. But let's continue. And by the way, I've always said this. If someone is commenting on my stuff and they watch the whole video, that's fine for me, right? For me.
Yeah.
But others may feel differently about that.
He doesn't mind a lot of the VTubers that react to him.
Many people
because
think
as far as
reaction
he's
channels are
concerned,
just content leeches.
yeah, Andrew doesn't care because what he basically wants to see is, I mean, he's got a lot of VTubers that watch his stuff, and the one thing about it is he does not mind it when we actually react to his content. We pause, we talk about things, we try to delve into it, we try to understand. And part of his whole thing is he's an educational channel where you're trying to see things, and that's what Andrew likes, is he likes to be able to actually come back around, see what people are reacting to, see what they're talking about, see if somebody actually starts, thinking about where his argument was going, looking for those light bulb moments, so that, he can see it happen, like all of a sudden he's looking for people to actually be enlightened by it. So, and that's kind of the important thing. That's what he wants. And that's why he's perfectly fine with people reacting to his content. And that's part of the thing of making it transformative. And I think he's going to get into what Ethan ended up bringing up with a lot of the React channels that are out there that were doing the bad stuff. Like we're having a bit of a review inception here.
So we'll see what the poll comes out. I'm going to leave it up for a while.
Something that none of the major reaction channels have ever done when they've streamed or re-uploaded my videos. But to answer your question, no, I don't want people to stream or re-upload the entirety of my videos.
Now, understandably, this made a lot of people angry because why should these content thieves essentially get more views than the author of the video, which in a lot of cases was happening. I mean,
Well, okay, I'll tell you this. There's one reason why. Number one, the author might be boring as hell. They might be really freaking boring.
Well, there's a
Sometimes
few of them.
people they're just paint
And
dry.
and
So the
honestly, you can
person
call me boring if
commenting
you
on
want
it can
to.
bring the animation, can bring the
It's
personality, can bring
it's
the comments
understandable.
that really bring it to life. And you see
I
that
get
with
it.
certain channels. I think Asmongold is a great example of he can watch something that would be objectively boring.
Most people
otherwise,
actually
perhaps,
call
or
me
maybe
boring
not
because
that
I'm a
interesting,
dad.
but then by commenting on it, it brings out a different facade because you're bringing out a comment on an aspect of something. So saying, hey, this particular thing is interesting. Let's talk about that. Or maybe it's something that's not said, right? So you're watching a video and they're talking about, you know, anything, right? You know, the crime of murder, right? And they're talking about how bad it is, right? But maybe they leave out false convictions and you want to talk about false convictions. There could be something that's brought up that's relevant that's not in the video. So let's continue.
Yeah.
people don't like injustice, and this just we all see this, and no, it's not right. This debate culminated when XQC, one of the prime suspects, called in my show to debate me, in which case I'm sad to report that I was terribly owned. So in that
Mhm.
regard, do you care at all about like IP or copyright, or like the fact that it's illegal? Does that matter? If that it might be illegal, does that matter to you?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Well, if flat out doesn't, because
Well, that's
in
fair.
Okay.
watching full screen cam, do the fucking worm, and watch your
Do
prime,
that.
then watch
Bro,
your prime
do it
content.
for a week. Do a week of no reaction content and see how many fucking views you get. Oh, okay, sure.
Oh god.
Okay, that's
XQC.
content, though. There are some people that would watch a guy do the worm for a week. I'm not gonna lie, the internet's a weird place. Some people would watch that. I mean, let's be real.
True. True.
I mean, that's content, man. It's original content, at least. The ultimate debate, bro. He hit him with the worm. Oh, why didn't I think of that first? I kid XQC, but he is not the one I'm suing. Despite my criticism, he's not a malicious infringer. But the ones I am.
So
Thank you,
so
Ethan.
there's a key word he used, and I do love that he used the French because he's Quebecois. That is good. I will say, you know what? I can give Ethan a point on that. One thing he used there, an important word, is malicious. So key in on that word,
maliciousness.
because that may be the thing that screws the reaction channels that he's suing. And that may be the line that the judge draws between these people infringing and other reaction channels. Because, by the way, I don't think he would win against other reaction channels. I think there's other channels that react to content or watch this whole video that he would lose against. But I think that word malicious may ultimately be the key.
Am suing, you'll see are much, much worse.
Yep.
Now, ironically, after this debate and in the wake of this
Yeah.
large conversation, the problem seems to have only gotten worse. You have people like Hassan Piker paving the way of fair use with what's known as chair reacts. When Hassan gets up to go to the
Yep.
bathroom or to eat or to talk to his mom or to do whatever, disappears for an extended period of time. There's a video playing for his chair. Mr. Chair, they call it.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
People to leave the area
I gotta
around the
pee.
main airport in Sana.
Yeah, I even did that to Tectone today this morning. Oh jeez. Mr. Chair. Definitely Mr. Chair.
I mean, to be honest, in most cases, I just think that's laziness, and that's just the format and maybe the.
Yeah, and this morning Techie ended up getting a new puppy, so all of a sudden he had to leave, but he didn't have any content up or anything. He just left his chair, went to go take care of his pupper, and of course, everybody had to make the joke in chat, "Hey, awesome content, Mr. Chair." So yeah, everybody had to lampoon on that little joke.
The way it lends itself to. There are certain points at which, and I can empathize with this as a law tuber. If we watch, for example, a court case, there are points at which, if we watch an 8-hour long court case, then
Yeah.
we have to pee, or we have to go.
Oh,
get
of
some food,
course.
or we get a phone call, whatever. Something happens during an 8-hour long court case. You got to get up, you got to do something. You gotta
Yeah,
use the bathroom.
they had
I
to
don't think necessarily
swap
getting
out.
up
That's
once
why
or twice. However, if the majority of the
that's also why during the Johnny Depp thing, you know, when they were all watching, they had watch parties. They had like 8 lawyer collabs going over the whole thing, and that was so that they could always have somebody doing transformative content through the whole thing, because some of them would have to get up and take a call for a client, or had to go get something to eat or whatever. That way they could just rotate it out, because they all couldn't just do it solo, because that would possibly go into the realms of, you know, not transformative, because they wanted to play it safe. They didn't want to just restream, because they didn't want to take a hit from the other court channels, because they know for a fact the court channels would slap them with a ban hammer and send them a C&D over it, which has happened. I've actually seen them talk about it sometimes.
the content or the video is an empty chair, or more time is an empty chair than you're commenting, yeah, I do think that that could be a potential problem.
And it was in this setting that I formulated an idea. What if I could make
Okay.
a long form, irresistible piece of content that I knew that these streamers couldn't resist? They couldn't avoid the
Okay.
temptation of watching it the second it was published.
I'll preface, I don't follow Ethan.
I don't have an issue with them. Let's just...
It's not that I wanted these people to steal my video. It's that I knew they would.
See that, and that's the defining
Mm-mm-mm.
line, I think, that keeps it. You know, people mention trap, right? Trap
Yeah.
versus knowing someone's going to steal. So that's the
yep.
dividing line. And if you know the channels, it is pretty predictable that they would react to it in that way, because that's
Yeah,
what they do. That's what they
of
do with
course.
everything, right? So if someone does that with everything, it's predictable they would continue to do that with future content.
I knew they would watch the entire video, add little to no commentary, react to
Mm,
it instantly,
yeah.
giving them no time to form an opinion. The trap was set, and it worked even better than I imagined it would. We
Okay,
captured
sir.
pretty much every large streamer reacting to it in its entirety immediately after it was published.
Excuse me,
Okay.
Ethan. Excuse me, Ethan. I did not react to this. I did not react to that. I did not react to that at all. Do you know why? There was no legal issue in that. So a
Yep.
lot of people wanted me to talk about that and wanted me to get into that. But at that point, it hadn't risen to, is there a legal question here? What's
Yeah.
going on? Is this defamation?
It's not
Because
his
he hadn't said,
section.
"Hey,
He
I'm
wasn't going to
suing," or
touch it.
whatever else. None of that was at stake there. So for me, looking at that,
He had no
I
point.
actually thought at the moment to myself privately, this could escalate into something legal. And I was actually thinking at the moment, is this going to escalate into defamation, slander, some sort of, legal suit
Yeah.
over what they
So
are
he was
saying
going to
about
sit on the
each other?
sidelines and
That's the
watch.
direction I thought. And to be honest, I was surprised when it played out this way, when it played out the copyright angle versus a defamation angle or some other
Yeah.
sort of angle.
That
So
probably
this
threw
is
him
actually,
for a
to me, it was
curve.
kind of surprising, and it was an interesting surprise, but actually a pleasant one, because it gives me an opportunity to talk about the law in an objective way without going into the personalities themselves. So, a pleasant surprise.
Now the thing is,
I'm sure he
there
was
were
very
a few
happy.
people that went above and beyond to commit copyright infringement. For example, Denim sits here silently with nearly 50,000 live viewers. That's 30
Ooh,
times her
nice.
regular viewership.
Gotta
She's
love the
working
viewership.
directly with the Snark subreddit moderators to siphon views, and their intention.
So this
Okay.
is really bad. This is the really bad one. There's
Okay, what do we got
having
here?
a documented list where you can say
What?
we're gonna watch it without supporting.
Oh,
It's
oh,
intentionally. And
oh
that's
no.
where the word maliciously comes in.
Yeah.
Maliciously trying to siphon views and be used as a substitute.
Yeah, trying to
That's
siphon
not good.
away his views,
That's not
his
good.
looks, everything,
Not a
and
good
that's on his
If
metrics.
you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
See, so that's where she screws herself. So she's literally saying, don't give views to it and give me money. That is
Mhm.
the
That's
definition of
that's
substitute.
malicious.
That's where she screws
Send the
herself. She's
money
literally
the
saying,
other
I
way.
am the substitute.
Don't support the
Give me
original
money.
person.
I am making money instead.
It turns out they just do it for you. You couldn't cook up.
This is why I drop the links in my chat when we finish a video, because I would love it for anybody who is here to actually, you know, if you haven't seen it before or anything like that, and, you know, you're reacting with me, give some love to the other people that are actually doing the work ahead of me, because seriously, they deserve some love too.
Up a more incriminating statement if you tried. Denim's the queen of self-owning. You prevail again. There's one thing about copyright you should know is that you got to register it before you publish to be eligible for statutory damages and attorney's fees.
I
which
keep
is
forgetting that
the
point.
main biting force of a copyright infringement lawsuit. Well, I'm happy to tell you guys now. I, Ethan Klein, have registered Hassan Piker Content Nuke with the United States Library of Congress.
Ouchies.
Some of you guys out there sweating? Even though theoretically I could sue a lot more creators and rake in millions of dollars, but the purpose of this is not financial gain. People like XQC and Asmongold may have watched the entire thing, but I would never sue them. Just
He would lose. So this is where I think he would lose. I don't think he would win against Asmongold.
Because Asmon talks.
Probably against XQC as well. Right? I haven't
XQC
watched
talks.
XQC's video on this. Watched a little bit of Asmongold's, which is why I can say that. But I'm very certain he would lose.
I just know they talk
just
on their
doing it.
channels.
I don't
They
wanna
transform
chill
it.
the reaction community into fear. Actually, the opposite. I hope that we can all unite against this type of egregious behavior that not only makes us all look bad, but could destroy the commentary community as we know it.
Well, guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
They all
That's
met
disgusting.
This very specific high bar of criteria that I set forth earlier. These people were not targeted based on their gender, their identity, their political beliefs. All three are on this list. In fact, they're the only three, as far as I could tell, that reacted to the full video.
Mhm.
Drum roll, please. Who's sweating at home, guys? Casey Tron, the queen of ripping farts and bong loads.
What?
Dog, what do you look? You think I made this?
Frogan, who bless her soul, she's still rising.
Can I walk away and use the bathroom? Do I have permission?
I am not stepping in that trap.
Can I use the bathroom?
There are so many
please?
things
I'll
I could
leave it
say.
playing.
And
thinks Twitch is liable for me interviewing.
how long did that bathroom break take?
Known genocide his entire life.
What happened?
And Denim's the queen of self-owning. And my God, is she the queen of that?
It's very obvious from the way that guy's talking. He's a Sneeko fan.
Oh my God, bro! I love you, Hassan. Can I give you a hug, bro?
I'm so sweaty, bro.
I love you, bro.
None of the hostages that have been released so far have said that they have been raped. The hostages have public statements. You can go look at them.
The sexual assault I experienced should never happen to any human being.
This Yemeni kid is just a Yemeni kid with a gun and is not a Houthi, and there is no proof of him being a Houthi.
Are you a soldier? Yes. That seems pretty definitive.
Well,
He never
yeah.
said Hassan Nasrallah was a good guy.
I can't believe I'm calling Nasrallah base. I mean, listen.
What?
Now for the fun part. Let's take a look at the.
Once again, I'm just commenting on the legal stuff, not the opinion stuff or the substantive stuff or the underlying issues. Right? So,
Ugh.
you know, their individual opinions on
Giving
their
me the
disagreements with each
cringe.
other, etc. That's not really relevant to copyright infringement. So, no comment.
Complaints. And let's start with my favorite of the three, the very own, the prestigious, the highly acclaimed, the highly analytical Casey Tron.
Oh boy.
A lot of people have been wanting to watch this without necessarily supporting Ethan Klein. So we're going to watch it.
Well, that's a really dumb thing to say, don't you think?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
correct about that. Her saying that without supporting Ethan Klein, once again, that's
Yeah.
a substitute nature. So that's where he gets into. That's where he's hitting it on the head, and that's I assume Ethan has had a conversation with his lawyers. Unlike many other creators who just get on and blab and run their mouth, this is a pre-recorded video. It's not a live. So I'm sure he sat down and had a conversation with his lawyers. I'm sure his lawyers watched this video.
It's right in there with when you go to college and you do a paper, you have to actually cite your sources. This gets beaten into your skull when you're in college. And citing your sources is the bare minimum.
And they're like, yep, looks good, send it out. So that's something that is a check mark in his box on that side.
Tron smokes 42 times during her reaction. And just as a silly thought experiment, we thought, wouldn't it be funny if she spent more time smoking than she did talking? Thinking there was no way that that could be true. Well, we tallied them up, and lo and behold, there's 15 minutes, 40 seconds of commentary versus 18 minutes and 55 seconds of smoking. She spent 3 minutes and 15 seconds longer smoking than she did talking in her quote-unquote reaction. And whatever talking she did was just to express how confused she was, presumably from smoking 42 times.
What is happening?
Wow.
I'm trying to follow. I've
Wow.
lost the plot.
That
The complaint continues. Indeed, Casey Tron is often too obliterated to comment on the nuke, and instead shares blank.
See that? This is good. This is good legal writing. Like
This is
putting
why I
obliterated.
don't
The word
drink when
obliterated is
streaming.
funny, but it's not inappropriate. It's not inaccurate. It's good legal writing. This is very good legal writing. At one point, she's so wasted. Like, once again, it just makes you chuckle a little bit, right? And that's what the judge is doing. The judge is a human being. They're not a robot.
Stating outright that her intention of doing this is so that people who don't want to support me can watch it through her is why copyright infringement laws exist. You could not and should not do that, especially if your commentary consists of you taking bong loads. At least try to engage with the content. Whoa, what was that? Oh, sorry. That was a flying star. It almost got me. You know her and you love her, guys.
And what is good here, and this is something that was pointed out over my locals, I do like that he's like let me page back here a little bit.
Frogan. It almost got me. You know her and you love.
Okay. I do like that he's showing the complaint.
Yeah.
Because she's showing he actually filed. You know, when you see the complaint, you know it's
especially
real.
for
You
a
know it's
lawyer.
filed. It's not just talking smack. It's not just something that
jury trial demanded
that you're thinking about doing. You've actually filed.
That's the serious part.
Filed. It's great.
Love her, guys. Frogan. Reaction by exiting. Here she is getting up to leave the video running as she steps out of the room. Is that transformative? We'll decide. She said, quote, "It's time to watch the new nuke ethically. Hell yeah." Huh. Very smart to say on camera, by the way. She said, quote, "Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. Thank you for watching it with me." Well, you are so welcome, and I'm so glad that you were able to enjoy that day. As lazy and pathetic as her reaction is, this is not why she's getting sued. This is.
Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate everyone's support. And thank you for watching it with me. First time viewer, time to watch the nuke ethically. Hell yeah. I found my way from Reddit. Hi guys, welcome Reddit people. Reddit people. I came from the HP Snark Reddit. Ethan is so pathetic while his son is in Japan. I'm bothered having a great time. Exactly. We're gonna watch it live, yes. He doesn't want people to know when it's dropping because we're all watching through other streamers. And I suggest you all watch it through other people as well.
It's the
See
that right there.
That's the comment.
Ouch.
That's the comment that damns her right there. It's not the chair
That's
stuff.
that.
It's
Oh,
that comment. I actually think that's the thing that the judge could come down and say, "Yep," because you literally said that. You said, I would advise you don't watch his video and you watch us." That might be the thing that they draw the line and say,
that's the
where these
only
people crossed over. See, Denims did it. She did it there. Very clear that she wanted to substitute for Ethan's video.
I learned not to steal when I was 5. Up next is Denims.
Yeah. Oh,
and
Snark.
honestly, just take a look at this, guys.
Oh,
It's a
dude.
nightmare on Denim Street. Not only did she
Okay, that's kind of. I think they. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick.
Yeah.
When she spoke, that was funny. Nightmare on Denim Street. I think that's a little pushing it. That's a little pushing
Yeah.
it. They could come up with a better one than that. I'm gonna objection on that one. I
Mhm.
mean, I like the legal humor, but that one, I don't know.
Denim said, quote,
That's
"Well,
questionable.
Guys, if you enjoyed not giving any views to that terrible video, give me a follow, subscribe, throw a prime if you like my content." Your
jeez.
content? The Queen of Self-Own and countdown timer, so we could tell exactly how long she was away. She returns and then sits silently for another couple of minutes eating.
I'm gonna go
Oh
pee,
boy.
and hopefully, when I'm back, they're done with this.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
You do look better.
Wow.
I see it.
Dude, you should do this.
I have an alternate.
Just wow.
We're relying on you to stay live so we don't give more views on the nuke. Yeah, I'm gonna stream it since he confirmed it's coming out today. We're gonna stream it. If you want to, come enjoy the watch party.
Oh, ow,
if you
ow,
enjoyed,
ow.
not giving any views to that terrible video, follow, subscribe, throw a prime.
That's the
If
ouchie.
you like the content, if you enjoyed your time here, because I'm gonna be honest, I did not want to watch that by myself.
Let me also commercialize it by asking you to reward me financially for stealing his content. That is like chef kiss. By the way.
So that's where we get into. So somebody mentioned statutory damages. So statutory you can say, hey, I lost revenue, and the revenue they gained, I would have had. So you can make that argument for that revenue in addition to the statutory damages. See, so there's a large amount of damages. Just because there's statutory damages doesn't mean you're precluded from going after compensatory damages or other forms of damages, right? So that's an additional. It's like an and one. It's an extra point. It's a it's a more, right? Than you would normally get. So that's a good thing, at least for Ethan, if he wins.
Always delivering the goods. She went on this dude's podcast to debate fair use. And would you be surprised if I told you she said a lot of incriminating things in that podcast? The queen of self-own never disappoints.
I want to be clear on my opinion on like, filler content and stuff. Like, I think filler content, like, you shouldn't do it. I know I do it as a React stream, and I try to do it only when I do it with like Vox videos or Vice videos and stuff like that, because at least creator and not like a whole team and stuff. And most of those videos have like 5 million views. I only get like 500 viewers. Like out what I'm taking maybe 50 views from the video. It's a lot harder to feel like, I guess, bad about that. Whereas like I would feel very bad about doing that to like a single content creator.
That's not how the law works. By the way, that's not how the law works. The law doesn't care whether you are a large creator or whether you're a small creator, and that's not going to matter at all. Her feelings, once again, and like what she says there, she says repeatedly, her feelings. It is what it is, right? Regardless of whether you feel bad about it or not. Some people don't feel bad about stealing, but that's still a crime, right? Some people don't feel bad about murder. It's still a crime, whether you feel bad about it or not.
That, my friend, is called theft, and you're a thief. And now I'm suing you. This is just a testimony to how brazen and how safe they've, gotten. That she thinks she can, like, I'm stealing this content because I want to. I'm coping even though I know it's stealing. When people watch it with me, they're definitely not going to go watch the original. Like, you are way too comfortable committing crimes out in the open.
Yeah, not a crime. That's a civil.
I do appreciate he said that is not a crime. It's a civil offense. Yes, that is a good. His lawyer probably caught that one. You can tell the lawyer watched this one because that's a good clarification. It is not a crime. It is a civil offense.
Yeah, it's a
three
civil
separate
thing.
lawsuits for 3. Now, I want to make it clear again. And I hope it's been obvious about why I'm suing these 3 people and not others. These people not only violated
looks like
all
I
the
got a stream
principles of fair
split.
use,
Something happened.
they also did it maliciously. And that's the part that really got me. I think if you're a reactor on Twitch, for the most part, if you make a good faith effort to comment, and if you make a good faith effort to promote the author, to link to them, to try to drive traffic to the original video, I think you're probably
okay. So now he's talking. He's making.
Yeah,
a
I
moral
must have
argument
read
here. So
squared
I'm gonna
and it
push
knocked
back a
me
little bit
off.
against Ethan, a little bit. He is now making a moral argument. This is not the law. The law is not good faith effort. It's transformative, and transformative, could be something that he might not consider a good faith effort, but it might still transform the content, right? So that's a little bit. He's going into an area where, okay, I see where you're going, and you're leaning on the moral side. If your definition of good faith effort, where the line is drawn, but I see what he's getting at,
and that's fine. And I would never sue someone for that. Take it to these 3 absolute morons to state their intention to steal my property on video.
Yeah,
and to all the detractors who are saying that I'm targeting women, that I'm a hypocrite for suing for copyright infringement.
Yeah, that's the big thing right there, is coming straight forward and just coming straight out and saying, hey, I'm gonna steal it. That's a bad take. Any way you look at it.
Just have this to say. I don't care. What I do hope, though, is that you'll support their crowdfunding efforts to defend themselves. Because let's face it, I want to make sure there's money left over for me when I win my lawsuits. Thanks for watching, everybody. It's been a great time.
Yep.
I'll see you around.
Okay, so that's the video there. That's what we have for that one. Interesting. I think once again, my final assessment here is that Ethan does have a chance to get past the motion to dismiss, to get past the slap statutes, and to get to discovery. I don't know whether he will ultimately prevail at trial, but I do think he has a good shot. I think he has a very, very good shot with these 3 specific targets. And I will say at the end, he said, how are they picked? I mean, people will also say, and I see people saying in the super chats that they're all, Hassan orbiters. Okay, that's fine. Obviously, there's a personal grudge, but he did not choose to go after Hassan. He chose to go after these specific people. And those statements were very damning.
Yep.
Very damning.
Yeah. It comes down to all of the statements and everything like that just completely messed everything up. So we can look at this straightforward on how things are kind of turning the way they are. Is he put out his content, he's been doing his content, but the biggest thing is he got to sit back and see most of his detractors coming at him and basically doing disingenuous things to, not cite him or give credit where it's due. So, and he got mad enough that now he set out a thing and set it up in such a way that he would be able to move forward civilly on them. So that's how that goes. We'll see how it plays out. It's probably going to take weeks, months. Hopefully it doesn't go into 2026. And hopefully we can get that solved. But yeah. Definitely like, comment, subscribe on his stuff for Andrew here. And if you feel like going off and checking out Ethan, you can go and do that. I don't really follow him, so it's neither here nor there, because it's where, to me, it just seems like there's just too much beef with where the whole Hassan, his orbiters, all that kind of stuff, and all of that just kind of pushes forward a little too hard, in my opinion. And I do apologize for stream being scuffed on the connection, because it does look like we actually had a couple of dropouts here, and I've already done my back end testing, and it seems it's the events are actually coming off of some sort of overrun on Twitch's part. So sorry about that, guys. That is how that goes, I guess. Not much I can do about that. But I don't have any reports anywhere else on other platforms. But definitely the next thing to actually see here, just to look over. And Decoy Voice got a quick one here. He just wanted to go over some things quick. And I try to pop in every so often to actually see about this based guy.
Whoever is telling Governor Gavin Newsom he's got a chance at being president has to be playing the longest practical joke ever, as these anti-ICE riots were ravaging Los Angeles, digging his most populated city even deeper into debt, already on top of turning his state's $100 billion surplus into a $73 billion deficit.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Where'd all the money go?
Is he focused on actually fixing the situation for his citizens? No. He's busy suing Fox News.
These guys go after me 24/7. I'm a piñata. It's a defamation lawsuit because they willfully and knowingly distorted facts. They lied about a phone call that never occurred between the President of the United States and myself.
That's a good
filed
question.
A lawsuit against Fox News for lies, for deceit.
Still crying. Dude, I don't know. I really don't know. Man needs to have some Visine.
As this literally looks like all he's doing now. Where you look at his personal social media account, all he does is constantly repost and highlight his lawsuit, which isn't much better than the official governor's account that is pretty much exclusively crying about President Donald Trump. There's some very serious issues in California, but the only thing their leader is concerned with is vanity, as he's suing Fox News for $787 million, citing Politico's article saying it's a defamation case regarding a Trump phone call, but most importantly, stating that he will drop the lawsuit if Fox News retracts its claims and they apologize to Newscomb on it.
Okay, now, on air, the only thing I can say about that sort of thing is if they actually, do their retraction and do the apology, expect the retraction and apology to happen at 1 o'clock in the morning when no one's actually watching. I have previous history of that sort of thing. I had my own court case type stuff happen way, way back in my past, and I sent a C&D and had my lawyer draft up a whole bunch of stuff, sent it off to him, and they immediately pushed forward with regards to legals in the state that they were in to get out of having actionable position. They had to do their retraction and their apology and all that. And they buried it on page B12. And this is back in my past, so far back. I was actually a one above the fold. So, yeah, I know how this goes. You make the front page news, and then 6 months later, after everything comes out that it was a complete and total nothing burger, actually, they'll bury it on the back end. But then you have to come back around and ask the question, well, where do I get my reputation? Where do I get my reputation back, bro? That's the neat part. You don't.
Air, which only proves that this is strictly about vanity. He could be focused on fixing homelessness, the deficit, the incoming gas crisis that he's created, or basically anything other than trying to bring in $700 million from Fox, which isn't even 0.1% of his billion-dollar shortfall. And I understand those calculations probably aren't correct, but I graduated from California public school, so if anything, me not being math Asian is his fault, alongside me bad grammar. But why exactly is Newscomb suing Fox News over Jesse Waters?
When is the last time you spoke with Governor Newsom?
He's standing right by them.
Called him up to tell him, got to do a better job. He's doing a bad job.
Where Newscomb replied, there was no call, not even a voicemail. Only for Trump to post his phone records of a 16-minute call he had with Newscomb.
Ouch.
Now that image doesn't really prove anything, but Newscomb being so adamant that he's not lying about a phone call just reminds the public of a time that he definitely lied about a Trump phone call.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the
Why
call.
is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through.
Why?
Why is it not going through?
Newscomb went from, I'm literally talking to the president right now, to getting lightly challenged over his lie, transforming his response to, I've tried 5 times, but I can't get service. The simple fact that he could boldly lie to her face, then transition into the next likely lie, is all you really need to know about him. As a couple weeks ago, he cried about the ranch fire in Southern California, saying his National Guard fire crews were understaffed due to Trump's political stunts.
Understaffed?
Only for leftism to call him out for disbanding the state's wildfire fighting team last year. Then thoroughly dismantling everything about Newscomb's claims, how he still has 20,000 guardsmen left, but instead of deploying them, he's too busy tweeting at the president. It's almost like every time his cities catch on fire, he doesn't see it as a disaster, but a political opportunity. As when the wildfires hit Los Angeles 5 months ago, he was seen seemingly dancing when talking about land grabs.
I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor of down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
Oh, look at how happy he is.
And when Los Angeles again was on fire due to the anti-ICE riots,
that
he
bouncing
was
back and
reportedly too
forth,
busy
how
to
happy
respond,
he was
as he was
about
out
it.
wine tasting. But when Vice President J.D. Vance came by to thank the Marines that were saving the city, suddenly Newsom had all the time in the world to come through for a debate. And notice how this marathon of bad press all comes back only after Newscomb says he wants to sue Fox News over a phone call. As when you have such a large track record of failures, literally everything you say or do becomes a minefield of reminding your voters about the last time you fucked up the state. As
Ouch.
his wine tasting fiasco just reminds us of when he ordered the state to lock down while he dined out at a fancy French
Yeah.
laundry, at the same time somewhat apologizing for it.
And as soon as I sat down at the larger table, I realized it was a little larger group
Mhm.
than I had anticipated.
Well, of course.
And I made a bad mistake. Instead of sitting down, I should have stood up and
Mhm.
walked back, got in my car, and
Right.
drove back. You can quibble about the guidelines, et cetera, but the spirit of what I'm preaching all the time was contradicted, and I got to own that. And so I want to apologize.
This is where he got called out because a whole bunch of people basically said, okay, this definitely has bad optics because it definitely looks like rules for thee and not for me. Thank you, sir.
To you.
And recently on his podcast, regretting it.
You're whining and dining at French Laundry.
Yes, I was talking about the importance of
Mhm.
never. I'll
Ouch.
bonehead move my life. Okay, own it, move on, grow up. And I'm trying to.
Is that you talking to yourself?
That's me talking to
Okay,
myself.
okay.
I'm just looking. I'm looking right at you in the eyes as I say that.
I'm so glad he's forgiven himself over this,
Mhm.
just smiling and laughing as if he didn't destroy businesses and livelihoods over a sickness that he himself didn't seem too concerned about. But the big takeaway from his podcast with
Yep.
Charlie Kirk, where he sweat through his shirt, is Kirk remarking that Newsom wants to be president more than any living person. But no
Ouch.
amount of podcast
I
appearances
don't know
or
how
News
that would
Network
play out
apologies
for
is
him.
going to cancel out his career of failures, like his 2008 solution
I
to
really
solve
don't.
homelessness.
Food solves hunger, that shelters solve sleep, and that housing solves homelessness.
Uh-huh.
And that's why we established this framework, what we call a 10-year plan to
Okay.
end chronic homelessness in San Francisco.
So,
And after tens of
2018.
millions of dollars spent with no real tracking in place, it only appears to be getting worse. Alongside his
Uh-huh.
2010 plan to complete the high-speed rail,
I am sick and tired of hearing about how wonderful the transportation system is in France and Japan. And have you been to Shanghai, or do you know what they're doing in Beijing? Well, finally, California is going to get it right with this new high-speed rail.
which has also spent $15
Ooh.
billion with a completion date of 5 years ago. So no wonder
Ouch.
Newsom seems
5
so
years
adamant to
ago.
stop Fox News from criticizing him. And even
Budget
if he won this
overruns, I
lawsuit,
guess.
And Fox News was scared away from ever criticizing him again, it still wouldn't change the fact that the #1 news app is X, which actually makes this doubly hilarious, as if this video makes it to 500,000 to 1 million views. You know Newsom's team will have to pass along what's being said here, as it is sort of the pulse of what the internet is feeling. And me
Mhm.
calling him Newscum isn't to be mean, it's to highlight how mentally weak he is.
I've been living with that for years and years. New scum, the same 7th grade. I remember the guy on Baltimore Avenue that called me new scum. I was in 7th grade. I can handle that.
Oh, nice.
We'll
at
leave
least,
that aside.
at least that is there.
As he constantly complains about this.
When I saw some tweet about Governor Newsom,
Well,
a nickname, by
some
the
people
way,
can be
it's hardly
disingenuous.
original. There was an 8th grader.
The American people just voted for a president that took a round to the face and stood up completely unfazed. There's absolutely no way we're going to go from Trump to a guy that trauma dumps about his childhood bully whenever he's reminded of a nickname. So if you appreciate
Yeah.
my insights, I'd order commentary on the tragic status that is today's
Ouchie,
reality.
ouchies, I
Subscribe
guess.
to Decoy Voice.
Ouchie, ouchies, I guess. Because, yeah, sometimes you got to stand up for what you believe in. So, oof. Definitely apologize for the connection issues today, because I keep seeing things fluctuate so hard with my internet. So, yeah. Of course, definitely like, comment, subscribe on this dude if you wish, and definitely give him a bit of a look. Let's see here. Do-do-do. Gotta love multiple chats in multiple places. So, of course, on to the next one. Atozi. I haven't checked in on this guy in a while. His latest, something to do with some dude I don't even know.
This alpha male TikToker just destroyed his life for threatening the life of the largest podcaster in the world. And this might be one of the most insane stories that we've covered this year, because he was just arrested in Austin, Texas, then immediately on release doubled down.
I actually don't want to say any details nor any names. That's how you get ready for a fight. And you thought the videos would stop, but they will never stop because, when you fight out of a principle, you got an infinite amount of venom.
So meet Brian Johnson, who's known as the Liver King online. The Liver King, he went viral mid-pandemic for essentially making shocking content of him eating raw liver and organs and doing a whole bunch of other disgusting stuff, and claiming that his whole physique came from this insane diet that he was documenting for the internet to see. Obviously, this caught a lot of people's attention, including Danny Gonzalez, that made a few videos on him that gained over 20 million views. But these were really just kind of like poking fun at how bizarre he is and his diet. The elephant in the room really was nothing about the Liver King looked natural, but the Liver King would go on and on about how he in fact was natural.
The answer to that is no. I've always told the truth. I still tell the truth. I've never taken steroids. You can do the same thing with the 9 ancestral tenets. The short answer is no. I don't touch this stuff.
And this was really propelling his supplement companies at the time, because people saw his insane physique he claimed was from eating raw liver and organs, but 99% of the people, they don't want to eat raw liver and organs. So
of course you don't. I mean, well, it's going to be heavy in iron and a whole bunch of stuff, but I mean, come on. There's a lot of people that don't want to go that route, because there are plenty of people out there that would prefer to actually go vegan.
So his whole value prop with these supplement companies here was, here's a pill with dried liver and organs that you can eat, and just like that, you can get this crazy physique. And while high quality organ supplements can be a great source of key vitamins and minerals, you're not getting that level of physique in your late 40s unless you're running a whole lot of gear. But I guess people let that answer slide for a while, until Derek from the YouTube channel More Plates, More Dates dropped this bombshell video where he leaked the Liver King is essentially a walking pharmacy.
What I'm currently taking.
Oh
So
boy.
here's a stack: IGF-1 LR3, CJC with IMAP, Ibutamoren, Omnitrope, Testosterone Cypionate, Deca, Nandrolone Decanoate, Winstrol.
I mean, with a stack like that, one can only really say that he's more deserving of the Pharma Bro title than Martin Shkreli. But when that happens, the Liver King then made an apology video, essentially saying, sorry I got caught. And then he started deflecting with men's mental health.
Why do I do them? When I talk about the 85% of the population that suffers from self-esteem issues, that's me. I'm part of that statistic. This is why I work myself to death in the gym. This is why I do 12 to 15 blood-burning workouts a week, just to feel like I'm okay. Still, I have to absolutely crush myself to do so, and I'm wrecked physically and cognitively, and hormone replacement has helped in a profound and significant way. And still, I believe that the path to paradise is paved in...
Now, obviously, him saying that's a massive switch from just a few months ago, where he was previously calling anyone
going all
calling him out
natural
subprimal. But essentially, it seems like things have slowly gone downhill from here since this all happened. His companies were sued for $25 million for deceptive marketing due to his steroid controversy. And obviously, there was plenty of people, including commentary channels and podcasts, that talked about the situation. But it was Joe Rogan having Derek on his podcast that really struck a nerve with the Liver King.
That's what I get when I look at that guy. That's all feasible and possible. Now, please go to the Liver King. Please show me some preposterous Liver King physiology.
Oh, he has. Have you seen his apology?
No, I haven't. I want to watch it. He comes clean on steroids. I f***ed up.
Oh God.
I don't know if you guys are able
I want to see his images, though. I want to see some images of his body, because his body is so off the charts, ridiculously massive.
And if that wasn't enough of a blow, Joe then said this about having him on the podcast.
He was front row at one of my shows in Vegas.
Oh boy.
Oh, damn.
At the MGM. Yeah, and then I saw him again at the Canelo fight. He was trying really hard to get on the podcast, and he's been trying really hard to get on now. He contacted
doing
a
the
few
pick-me
friends of
thing.
mine, and some of them that have, like Bert Kreischer, that had him on the show.
Yeah, he told me he's trying to get on.
Yeah, for what? For what? Say that more? Like, come on, this is dumb, man. This is and you ran a con game and you got busted.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that you feel terrible. I'm sorry you feel bad. because that's just what happens when you get caught lying. But you didn't have to lie.
And remember what Joe said there, because it becomes more important later on in the story.
Okay.
But now for the recent Liver King crash up, because just the other day, the Liver King started posting some pretty concerning videos after essentially falling off the face of the earth for the past year.
More importantly, I'm picking a fight with Joe Rogan. I'm picking a fight. I am. Because it's out of principle. I'm not going to go fight with this guy. Do you see? I don't know. Hopefully you can see.
Okay, gonna pick a fight with Joe Rogan.
Can you see him? That's him.
Is that
I'm
bright?
picking a fight with him because I think that it matters to me. It matters to me.
I mean, this video is a trip. He started it by saying, hey, I'm just playing Mario Kart with my son. Then suddenly he announces that he wants to pick a fight with Joe Rogan like it's the
out of the
Bronze
blue.
Age. Dude, if you don't want to be laughed at, don't build your brand on lies, deception, and theatrical cringe. Either way, this is kind of coming out of nowhere now, especially considering that
it's better to be authentic.
We saw Joe Rogan talking about him. That was about 2 years ago. So I guess he's just been pressure cooking on this for a long time, because oh boy, does this man continue.
What I'm hoping is that you, Joe Rogan, are thinking, I'm going to choke
I gotta
him
wonder
out.
what the heck is going on with his
Lights out, I'm gonna
face.
choke him out. And I kind of hope that if you win, that's how it happens.
Is that why you're
because,
wearing
like,
a
to wake
hoodie,
up
bro?
from that dream, that's a good feeling. And then anything else that you could break on me, break it on me. I hope that you won't feel me tap. That's never happening, tapping, because I have something actually to fight for. Actually, that's my family. I have a principle to fight for.
What?
Yeah, he might have acquired a parasite from all that raw meat he's been eating. Obviously, this is super concerning, as he clearly isn't mentally well. There's a lot of people speculating that
It's
he's on
definitely
some
Men's
uppers
Mental
here,
Health Month.
but who knows?
At least
Because
for a
he
couple
keeps
more
going.
days, guys.
I'm gonna make a quick video to weigh myself right now. In case you didn't know, I take on the ground. This is where I lay in the shower. I lay here on the ground. That's my enema bucket. That's my enema bucket right
Oh,
there.
dude,
I don't
why
know
did
what's
you
more
have to show
disturbing, him
that?
shooting while laying in the shower, or
Ew.
him making these videos?
I'm pretty certain when I'm done tearing Joe Rogan and these other guys, you know, I'm done talking about them.
Honestly, dude's got to shave. I mean, like, trim it up, something.
Yeah, I mean, this dude is letting his ego and pride destroy his life. So he's currently threatening Joe Rogan, more plates, more dates, and John Bravo. Joe Rogan, I guess, for having his hero laugh at him, more plates, more dates for exposing him for not being natural, and I guess John Bravo, I'm assuming, for covering him in detail.
Lovely.
Anything and everything. Because Joe Rogan, we don't have to make videos to pretend anymore.
Honestly, when it comes to my opinion with regards to hygiene, bro's got to tidy this up. I mean, the mountain man look, really? You're going to go there? It just looks unkempt. All of that looks just kind of snarled to me. Ugh.
All of this is happening. We're coming to you. I've challenged you man to man to a fight. Honorable. And we don't have to pretend or make any videos. The world is watching. They'll make the videos for us. And you don't have to hold a camera. You can hold the hand of somebody that you love, because what happens next to you, you're going to need to remember that feeling. You're going to need something more than what you did.
Veiled
to give
threat.
You something to fight for.
Nice.
Because I have my family to fight for. And I'll die for them, you know that. And you're a black belt, but you've never come across something like this. Willing to die, hoping that you'll choke me out. I pray.
Okay, and the one thing I notice right here is bro is trying to claim himself off to be totally health conscious, but I have to ask the question. Why do we have cigars? Dude, why do you have cigars right there on your chest? Like, if you're going to be health conscious and do all that, why are you doing cigars? They are like the most unhealthy form of smoking tobacco ever. Wow.
Pray to God, because that's a dream come true. It feels good.
I don't see why he thinks Joe Rogan would ever want to fight him, but he is definitely determined to fight him.
Joe Rogan, I'm calling you out. My name's Liver King.
Mhm.
Man to man. I'm picking
And
a
of
fight
course.
with you. Yeah. I have zero training in jiu-jitsu. You're a black belt. You
This
should
just looks
defend
ridiculous.
But I'm picking a fight with you. Your rules.
Like leaning into that whole mountain man thing.
I weighed 190 this morning. I'll come to you whenever you're ready. Whenever you're ready to go. I'm on a vibration plate, by the way. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. He's got to be on a
And
vibration
just like that,
pad.
he rides off to Austin, Texas, the ancestral way. And by ancestral way, I'm talking about a convoy of G-Wagons, obviously.
Oh, man. Oh, of course, a Mercedes. Gotta be the Mercedes. Yep. Mercedes.
I mean, the dude is inches away from going to the potion cellar.
I am going into battle, and I want your strongest potions.
No, wait, actually. See, he's not even on the Walter White special. He actually just didn't take the potion seller's warning, and he's clearly just off his rocker on those potions.
You can't handle my potions. They're too strong for you.
So anyway, dude's off the potions. He's headed to battle in Austin, Texas. What could go wrong?
Oh, yeah.
Pulling up,
Yeah, what could really...
Do you need any
This is severely main character. Like bro Richter.
That I'm going to. Correct?
12 minutes, correct.
There's 12 ancestral tenets, you know that?
I do.
Yeah. They're actually principles.